Okay, this is our Alzheimer's Chronicles number 13. We are sitting in our library on our love seat. Pepper's on the couch, and we have each written down a couple subjects and or questions that we are going to address. And it's early December. We've got our Christmas tree up, perhaps the earliest ever. And so we're incredibly organized here in the Doolittle household, and we're doing our podcast. So I'll start off with one of my two questions. How do you think you've changed? How do you think you've changed?
Well, now that is a really difficult question, and I've asked myself that many times. There's too many factors to really be able to pinpoint that. And the reason I say that is I worked my entire life as a teenager, even as a child, as a babysitter, as an adult, and I had a really good career going. I enjoyed it very much. And then I was let go, and so my life has changed a ton. But what was the question again?
How do you think you've changed?
That's a really difficult question. That's like when you try and, if someone asks you, oh, do you think you're good looking? You know, it's like, what are you going to say? Oh, yeah, I feel like I'm really good looking. It's not a question you could really answer. I've changed, but so many things are contributing to that. I don't work. I don't have a job. Therefore, I don't have a lot of money. So my lifestyle has changed a lot.
Okay, those are external things. What I mean is, and I know this is hard for you to see or to measure, but that's kind of why I ask, because I'm interested in your perception of how you have changed because of the symptoms of the disease. How do you see your own personality changes? How do you see your own changes in the way your mind works?
Well, as you know, having been together with me for decades, my mind never worked the way most people's minds work. And I don't, I see it's like ebb and flow. Sometimes I have a really difficult time. I can't remember where I put stuff. I can't remember what I was about to do. I have these like moments that I never had prior to the onset of the disease. But it doesn't, it's sort of like I'm like a plow truck. I just keep pushing through it until I get what I need accomplished. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I've seen that, but it takes a lot more plowing.
Yeah, my plow truck is well oiled, though, I will say, because I have been pushing really hard. And I'm trying to figure out little tricks, to stay organized. Like recently I ordered these things called tiles from Amazon.com, and they are like almost GPS things. They're just little tiny squares about the size of a poker chip. And I have attached them. I bought a set of 4, and I attached them to my not purse, but my pack that I carry with me. I attached it to my keys. I attach it to various things, so all I have to do is, if I can't find those things, easily, I can just beep the tile that I happen to have with me, and it will locate the item.
So you're coming up with strategies
Right.
to deal with the symptoms.
Exactly.
Like what are some of the other strategies?
I write notes to myself so I remember, basic things. Some days my brain works really, really well. I forget nothing. I'm right on, and there's no it's not easy to tell. But on those days that I don't have a lot to do and I get a bit bored, I sort of like muddle around, and my brain doesn't seem to work as well. I forget things easier, and like, where did I put this? And I have to go look for it, or what was I just about to do, and stuff like that. But if I'm not, bored and I have at loose ends, it's easier for me to get all, behind and crazy acting.
So it's better if you keep busy?
Yeah, and it is. And I swim about I swim 2 hours 3 times a week, so 6 hours a week in the pool. And I get in and I don't get back out until I'm done. And I really, really, really enjoy it, and I so appreciate the Y for being there, because I'm not sure what I would do for exercise. And I think exercise changes, it mends any kind of personality flaw or thinking flaw. It helps keep it together a little bit longer. When I'm swimming, I'm completely free of any anxiety, any negativity, any thought of future death or anything like that. When I'm in the water, it's just a completely different world. And when I'm walking my dog and it's she and I, it's great because I have her with me and I'm responsible for her. So my game is up again for that. I don't want her to get hurt or her to be upset or anything. So when I have something that I can focus on, I do very well. But if I'm sort of at loose ends, I can sort of deteriorate.
Mm-hmm. And you deteriorate maybe more than you would have before the disease?
I'm not sure about that. I know that I was a whole lot bitchier when I was not disease-ridden. I was...
I wonder, is that deterioration or the lack of it?
I don't know, but I know that I was a whole lot bossier. I'm sure you can remember that. A whole lot bossier, and I always had to have everything perfect. The tree had to be perfect. The kitchen had to be cleaned up every night perfectly before we went to bed. Everything had to be folded and put away. I mean, it was really quite, a taskmaster. And now I don't care. I mean, if there's food on the side of the wall, I just pick it off and keep going. I mean,
why do you think that is?
For one thing, I'm not stressed because I don't drive an hour and 15 minutes to and from work anymore. That made a huge difference. I should never have decided to do such a drive. But it was a good experience, and I'm glad that I did it. But that was quite a stress on my body, not my brain or anything, but my body. So I'm glad that I don't have to do that anymore. But I think that, that was a contributing factor, is having the stress of driving back and forth. Now I don't. I drive more now because every day I drive my dog through the mountains because she loves to bark. And if there's less cars for her to bark at, my head lasts a bit longer in the car.
So you think it's those external changes, like not driving to work each day, that have caused you to be more easygoing? You don't think it's a personality change caused by the disease?
Well, that's hard for me to judge because I'm coming from the inside and you're coming out the outside. I think that my basic personality has always been the same and it's not changing that much. I have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with my animals, which is really important to me. And I do get bored. I won't deny that. I do get bored when I'm sitting around and there's nothing to do. That's why I walk the dog. The dog gets walked a lot. And I spend a lot of time with my bunny, but you can only spend so much time with a rabbit and a dog before you're for example, today I drove the dog and I walked the dog and I came home and it was 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what? I thought this was, I thought it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I had to take the dog out again.
Oh my gosh.
Then I walked her. I mean, I don't have a lot to do. I will say that before the disease, I was a real nitpicker about the house and its chaos, lack thereof, because everything had to be put away, everything had to be clean. There was no mess, there was no scattering of crap. But now I've entered the dark side, which is the side of my husband, where it doesn't necessarily need to be picked up if it's not an emergency. But no, you're not very neat, honey. You know that.
Okay.
But I was like a stickler. I mean, I wouldn't go to bed at night unless the kitchen was completely cleaned and everything was put away. the laundry was done, and then I'd go upstairs for the night. But that,
So why the change?
I just don't care.
But why don't you care?
Because I have all this time that I never had before. It's like I can take the laundry up right now, or I can wait 2 hours and take it up. It's not a big deal, And I do have the responsibility of the dog and the bunny, so I have to give them a lot of attention because they need to know that they're cared for. And,
All right, let's try question number 2. What do you think?
What is it? Give it up.
Do you want to be doing more to fight the disease?
Do I want to be doing more to fight the disease in general or on me?
In you.
Oh, in me? Well, I do swim 3 times a week, and they say exercise is a really good thing for Alzheimer's. And I do walk my dog in lengthy walks all the time.
Right. No, I mean, we haven't...
I climb up our 15 stairs every day back and forth.
Right. I mean, we haven't gotten much, if any, encouragement from our traditional doctors about doing anything. Basically, the message we've gotten is
exercise is good.
Nothing. There's nothing you can do if you work out. That helps. Maybe slow the progress of it, but besides that, there's nothing you can do.
Oh,
but there is a lot of alternative therapies out there. There's in the
really?
Well, yeah. I mean, the people telling us we should take turmeric pills.
Or you should horrible. I did
right.
that. They were horrible. I got them at the health food store, so they were high quality. Oh my gosh, I thought they were going to kill me.
Right. Those are really bad. There's different diets that people suggest. There's the stuff I'm reading about now, the microbiome. We could, there might be something we could try with that. I mean, are you feeling like, wow, I'm not really doing anything, to try to make this better, and, I should be, or I want to be?
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I do swim 2 hours 3 times a week.
Right, that's good, besides the swimming.
And I walk the dog, and I don't eat very much, and I've lost like 35 pounds, so, I mean, it's not...
Yeah. Is that good? That actually worries me a bit.
Oh, stop.
No, it does.
I finally got down to my, desired weight. Not quite. I still have about 20 pounds to go. But I like that. I like that I've lost a little bit of weight. For one thing, I'm not as exhausted. When you have a lot of weight on you, it's like, I can't move.
So it feels healthy.
It does.
It just kind of happened without you trying.
I didn't try at all.
But you're kind of forgetting to eat all day, which I find worrying.
Well, not exactly. I mean, when I was working, I ate constantly in the car, and that's where all the weight came on. So now it's like I don't eat in the car because I don't need to, I don't have the stress of working, and I don't drive at night. It's not that bad. And it's not like my weight is unhealthy. If I would like to lose another 25 pounds, but if I don't, I don't. It's not like I'm trying to lose the weight. If it happens, it happens. But I don't eat a lot because I'm not doing much to be hungry.
Okay. Well, I feel a bit frustrated with, the lack of any plan from our doctors, the lack of any guidance or encouragement to try to do anything to make things better. There's a sort of fatalistic, do you just have to accept this attitude? I mean, I sort of accepted that for a long time, but now I'm starting to feel a bit frustrated with that, and feel like, wow, I mean, there should be something that we can do, even if it's just something to try, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we'll see.
You're so sweet, honey.
I'm looking into it.
You're so sweet. That's one of the reasons why I just adore you. And that the love I have for you will keep me alive for a lot longer. I'm not depressed. I'm not bummed. I'm not the only thing I am bored sometimes, but not with you. But that's so sweet that you're so worried about me.
So you get bored during the day. I mean, I know you've had different thoughts about different things to do to make that better, but
Well, one of the things I want to do, I mean, I've taken a bit of a break from life, and that's kind of good because I was able to get some stuff done. But I do want to volunteer. I have a great desire to do that, and I really want to do it at a place that I find to be extremely helpful to the community, which is the Catholic Charities Domestic Violence Project. I think that is such an important program, and I worked there for several years, and I just thought it was a real change maker, and I'd like to be able to go back, and I won't be able to counsel, or do anything like that, but I can I can create something to make it easier for people who are in need of items. I can make it easier for them to acquire those things that they need.
is there something that makes you hesitate to go and do that?
No, not at all, nothing at all, except I've gotten a little bit used to hanging out with my dog all day, so I'm going to have to give that up, which I can do. But I was thinking I would start maybe doing a Tuesday, Thursday, and, do what I can do. And I'm not obviously going to be counseling anybody anymore, but it would be nice to get back into doing something. I'm not going to mention any names, but when I was in Thai, before I ended my career there, I was in the Walmart doing some shopping for the students, and out of nowhere, this woman comes running at me, knocks me over almost, and grabbed me and was hugging me, and I didn't know who it was at first, and then I realized it was someone I had worked with, and she was so happy to see me, and she made me feel really good about what I did there when I was there. She said I saved her life, and she's so glad to see me, and her poor husband was trying to drag her away because they were in a hurry, and she just wouldn't leave. But I was just really, it made me realize how I had contributed in my old life and how important that is to me to help other people, not just women, but mostly women, live a healthy, satisfying lifestyle that they may not, feel they're entitled to, but they are.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That was great.
And I do want to, I've paid a lot of attention to my animals, and we're doing some stuff to the house, but I really want to throw myself back into it as a volunteer and do whatever needs to be done. I'm really good at that.
You should. It's strange because with, you see other people who are struggling with, a spouse having a terminal illness, and it's usually all this struggle and, treatments, and we're fighting it and we're going to beat it and that kind of thing, but we're just kind of none of that,
Yeah.
And I guess that's maybe the way this is, but it's just okay, we're just living, we're just kind of going along and, hanging out.
It probably affects you more in the sense that I don't remember what things that I may have said or done that were goofy, but you do. But I remember what you say mostly. Oh, I guess not so much. Sometimes I don't remember so much.
You mean what I say about you?
What
I
you
say about
to me?
About your symptoms?
No, I remember most of the stuff that you and I talk about.
Right.
And but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you interpret it.
No.
What I'm saying?
How I interpret what exactly? What you mean? How your behavior?
Yeah. I've always been goofy.
I think right. No, I think what you're saying is exactly right. I mean, my experience of what is going on, I think, is very different from yours.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what I'm getting at with that question. How do you think you've changed? It's I know how I think you've changed, and that's something that I've written about in my columns a lot, and something that I experience every day and think about quite a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, because I see it all the time.
Right.
And I kind of keep track of it, and it like goes, like you say, it goes up and down. It's like not a straight line. And it's not that easy to kind of gauge, but it's one of those things that, you know, I'm extremely sensitized to it. And, you know, although I've gotten less so. I mean, I've gotten kind of used to the whole thing, but I'm sort of fascinated or extremely curious about your experience of that, because I feel like you aren't really noticing or paying attention to those things. Maybe you sort of can't. Like you said,
I do. I get frustrated with myself because I can't keep track of stuff, and I go out to the car 5 times looking for something. I mean, those things do happen that never used to happen before.
But it seems like you handle that, you know, that doesn't like frustrate you very much, and you seem to handle that generally, with a couple exceptions, without really, you just kind of shrug it off. You just kind of go along, and I'm curious whether that's because you're doing that because you decide like you're not going to let that get you down, or because you just kind of don't notice.
No, I notice. Trust me, when I'm home alone and I can't find something, or you know, things happen that make me like, oh shit. Ooh, excuse me.
That's all right. That's the first time she's ever said that.
Cursing. But no, it's like I recognize that it takes me a little bit longer to get out of the house because I've got to find my keys. I've got to find the collar and the leash for the dog. I have to, you know, find my coat. And I get distracted so easily that even though I know where all that stuff is, it takes me a while to figure out to get it. So, like today, here's a good example. Today, I drove the dog for a long time. I drove her all the way up through Luzerne and Corinth and did all that stuff. And I didn't get lost. I knew exactly where I was going. I didn't even, the dog's barking in my ear. It didn't, my ability to function is still pretty high. As I know, a lot of people who are in this situation are the same way. I think that there's little bumps, like, oh wow, that wasn't what I meant, or that wasn't what I wanted to do, or whatever. But I don't think it's, at the early stages, which it is right now, that it isn't difficult, though I know it probably will get difficult at some point. But like I said, I do things that I know that I've read about, and to help stave it off as long as you can stave it off to. I swim, I walk the dog, I do a lot of mahjong, and, I'm not housebound. I'm out and about. I don't get lost in the community or anything.
Right.
So, I drive all over Luzerne, and sometimes I go to Saratoga, and the dog is barking in my ear the entire time, that she's doing that. But it doesn't bother me because I know her barking is, she's happy.
Right. Yeah. I see that, and that's good. And I'm really glad for that that's possible. And that is satisfying.
I don't get lost. I don't get lost. And I go all over the back roads and stuff. But I remember the places I've driven by and stuff, so I know exactly where I am all the time.
Right. Okay, were there any questions you wanted to ask me?
What were those questions over there?
Well, they're not actually questions
you
wrote down. You wrote down something about the drug trial.
Almost over.
You wrote down, something about drive around. People don't know I'm afflicted.
It's true.
I'm not sure about this, but I think my dog something blah blah blah.
Well, I feel like she's aware. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like haven't you noticed how she is stuck to me constantly?
I think she is aware that something's going on with you.
Yeah, she absolutely is. She never is more than, I mean, she's sitting right here next to me. She follows me around throughout the house, upstairs. It's like she's like a pull toy.
She's become a therapy dog for sure.
Yeah, and she also, I mean, she's important to me, and obviously I'm important to her because she and I are together all the time.
Now, why do you think very few people know you're afflicted with Alzheimer's?
Why do I think they don't know? They do know because it's on the radio throughout the country. Everybody freaking knows.
No, but you said, well, if someone hadn't, heard our podcast or read the columns or heard the thing on the radio or seen the thing on TV we're going to do very soon. Why do you think, you think if you ran into someone in the store, they wouldn't notice?
I don't think they would notice, to be honest, unless they knew, were aware of through the podcast. I mean, I talk to people all the time. If something like somebody, for example, if somebody's coming out of the store and drops something, I pick it up and I give it to them and I chit chat with them for a little bit. They don't know I have Alzheimer's.
Right.
So if they do, they do. I don't care. I mean, I'm not embarrassed by it at all. It's not something I did to myself. It's something my forefathers gave me, which I don't appreciate their gift at all.
It does make you wonder, it makes you aware, I think, and more sympathetic to other people, aware that, other people could have the same thing or have something like that or, be, under some other burden or dealing with some other affliction. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've always been tender-hearted to people, even if I didn't like them, if they have something going on,
But I guess my point is you don't necessarily know. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on necessarily. Like people wouldn't necessarily know that you have something going on.
Well, they certainly do because you've advertised it all over the North Country. Right. So, hi, baby.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I don't, I think that everybody has a core self, no matter, what life throws at you, there's always that core person that never really changes. You might not be able to express it to the extent that you used to be able to, but it doesn't go away. And, just go with my own family. There's not a lot of sweetness. People are not sweet in my family. But I feel like I was the lucky one in that, and I don't mean my children, I mean my biological grouping. I feel like that I have, even though I have this terrible disease and blah, 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 and I've had tons of accidents, and I've had lots of parts of my body that are not in good shape because of it. I'm very clumsy. I feel like my essence is not altered. I have a very sweet sort of vulnerableness about me that I don't necessarily appreciate, but it is who I am. And I feel like, that's going to be a constant with me. I'm not going to be ripping my clothes off and running down the street and stuff like that. I don't even know if people do that, but
I don't think so. But I think what you said is really true. I mean, I've said that in my columns. So you think that when you were tougher before, your symptoms got stronger, when you were kind of a tougher, bitchier person, that was like something
that was a response to something. Because I remember myself well as a child, and I was the sort of child that if I came across a small dead animal, I would bury it and do a little ceremony over it. I would often be very late for school because I would be doing that. And I got lots of names called at me because people were thinking, why are you burying a dead bird? And then they'd start calling me dead bird. You know, it's like I didn't care. It didn't bother me because I knew that, you know, maybe the bird's family doesn't care, but I was going to bury the bird anyway. And that was just the way I was as a child. And I don't think that really, even if you have Alzheimer's, I'm not sure if that part of you, your core part, can be manipulated too much. But who knows? You'll know more than me.
Well, it does seem to be a process of, getting down to the essence. I agree with that, of who you are.
Am I still sweet like I used to be?
Yeah, sweeter.
Oh, that's a good thing, huh?
I mean, it's like you're all sweet now, and like the toughness, the hard shell is like falling away.
Oh, wow. I needed that. I needed that shell.
Well, right. I think that's absolutely right. You needed that to survive.
Yeah.
You had to have that, but maybe now you don't have to have it, but you don't have it.
I don't have it anymore, and I miss her. She was a ball buster.
Yeah, I miss her too.
I'm glad you have a sense of humor, honey.
All right. What do you think? That's good?
I think that's good. That's good. Next time we can talk about beans.